Hi there, I'm Gabby. Welcome to a very different kind of Happier Life Project podcast episode. No guest this week, just me, talking about all the things that I've learned and discovered and researched so far on the topics of modern dating. Love bombing, breadcrumbing, ghosting, unhealthy obsessing over somebody we barely know, and so much more. Firstly, my people, if you've landed here and are struggling in this department, I'm so sorry and I feel your pain. In fact, this episode was born out of me experiencing pretty much everything in the show title. Hot and cold behaviour, flakiness, time wasters, situationships, don't even get me started on that word. Love bombing, and then said person falls off the face of the earth, or some alternate universe where apparently phones don't exist, or there's some kind of time delay where it takes days or weeks for a response. Unfortunately, this is the dark side of the landscape of modern dating culture. How does this all correlate to mental and emotional health? Hugely, massively, unquestionably. But we can take back control of the emotional turmoil and turn it around with a bit of guidance, reassurance, and hopefully from my deep research into all this stuff that I'm about to share with you, some useful information so that you are more equipped to recognise the red flags and no longer tolerate unacceptable behaviour. First of all, we're going to start with looking at the psychology as to why love bombing, breadcrumbs, ghosting and situationships can cause such havoc on our mental health. And then we'll get stuck into how we can begin to heal from all of the mentioned. So, ready to find a healthier, happier you? Let's get started. Okay. Let's start at the beginning. You've matched with someone online, or maybe it happened the old school way at a bar or through a mutual friend or colleague. Either way, you've connected. The chemistry was great. You think, wow, this could be something. They seem super invested and excited to get to know you. And then, bang, the love bomb is dropped. This is taken from respectvictoria.vic.gov.au. So a new relationship is blossoming and the compliments are flying thick and fast. I've never met somebody like you before, they say. The first, second and third date are the scenarios of Hollywood movies, and you're excited by the potential of where this new connection could lead. But as the weeks go by, attention wanes, the texts get less frequent, you feel them withdraw, and you're left with nothing but memories and wondering, what the hell happened? This was taken from clevelandclinic.org. Love bombing is a form of psychological and emotional abuse that involves a person going above and beyond for you in an effort to manipulate you into a relationship with them. It looks different for every person, but it usually involves some form of excessive flattery and praise, over-communication of their feelings for you, showering you with gifts, early and intense talks about your future together. Does it sound familiar? Love bombing can happen intentionally or unintentionally. In a research study by mental health professionals on researchgate.net, love bombing was identified as the presence of excessive communication at the beginning of a romantic relationship. Love bombing was found to be a logical and potentially necessary strategy for romantic relationships amongst individuals with high displays of narcissism and low levels of self-esteem. So if your relationship is burning hot in the beginning and then you feel them start to withdraw, and something feels off, ask yourself, what's making you feel overwhelmed or uneasy? And don't ignore those feelings. This leads us on to what can often follow the love bombing: breadcrumbs. As written by Psychology Today, breadcrumbing involves a sporadic, shallow pattern of communication. These occasional moments of connection keep the person hopeful that a relationship may yet be possible. Research suggests that people who have been breadcrumbed tend to feel more lonely, more helpless, and less satisfied with life. The prolonged nature of the process makes it particularly difficult, perhaps more so than ghosting. The realization that one was led on poses its own challenges. The person may feel like they were betrayed or manipulated, which can evoke embarrassment, self-doubt, or withdrawal. The breadcrumber may or may not realise what they are doing and the effect they're having. For example, they may not be aware that the person is interested in pursuing a relationship, or they may be overwhelmed and not able to commit to a relationship at the moment, even if they say or think otherwise. Others may be more manipulative and recognise that stringing someone along allows them to benefit from the relationship when they want to without investing further. On to ghosting. This was taken from verywellmind.com. Ghosting occurs when somebody you are dating or getting to know disappears without a trace. Dealing with being ghosted is incredibly difficult, especially because you usually don't know the cause or how to react. The person suddenly quits all contact with you. They won't respond to texts, calls, or social media messages. The mental health effects of being on the receiving end of these actions can be very challenging. Ghosting carries an echo of old rejection. And in today's dating culture, being ghosted and ghosting is common. Now that it's so common, ghosters justify it's an almost permissible way to exit a relationship. This is Gabby speaking now. It's not. Scientific research by mental health professionals has shown that the silent treatment, aka ghosting, correlates with emotional cruelty. Usually, ghosting happens early on, so the person on the receiving end doesn't feel that they have the right to say, "Hey, what's going on?" So, you've been silenced. You can't vocalise how you feel, which can turn into shame and self-esteem issues. You try to fill in the blanks to see into the brain of the ghoster. If you have a string of good dates, the ghosting feels unjustified and disrespectful. The hurt is huge. Ghosting takes away the opportunity to talk and process, which can allow healing. But without conversation, it can cause someone to question their worth. What did they do wrong? Did the person ever really like me? This can lead to trauma and other severe emotions like depression or anxiety. And in extreme cases, the act of being ghosted can be so emotionally jarring that it results in symptoms similar to PTSD. That's right, post-traumatic stress disorder. And now on to the psychological ramifications of finding yourself in a situationship. The dictionary definition of a situationship is a romantic or sexual relationship that is undefined and non-committal. People in a situationship are more than friends, but less than committed romantic partners. The lack of defined boundaries and expectations in situationships can breed uncertainty and anxiety. Ambiguity, whilst exhilarating at first, can become a significant stressor, leading to overthinking and emotional turbulence. Situationships often weave in and out of emotional highs and lows. The absence of a stable foundation can contribute to emotional turmoil, leading individuals grappling with fluctuating feelings of happiness, confusion, and frustration. Individuals may question their worth and desirability, especially if the dynamics of the relationship remain undefined for an extended period. Another Gabby side note, if both parties are happy with this dynamic, then go ahead, you do you. But from what I've discovered looking into this, more than often, one partner is simply going along with the other. And in between the dopamine highs, usually sporadic from receiving texts, calls, and/or plans for hookups, they feel like crap. So, if you've been ghosted or love bombed, or the person is blowing hot and cold, meaning he or she doesn't care enough to be consistent, or they aren't able to commit to exploring a healthy relationship, rather than defaulting to there's something wrong with them, which should, by the way, be our default thought, rather, we start questioning, is it me? Is it something I did or said or didn't do or say? What I've discovered is most likely not. You're not going mad. There's nothing wrong with you, unless you're a stage 5 clinger or a serial killer, of course. You're going to hear very shortly why and how to reprogram that beautiful mind of yours, which might feel like it's your enemy at times, but actually is trying to keep you safe. Let's get you back on that pedestal of self-worth and secure attachment. And if you're listening to this episode not as the receiver of all of the mentioned, but as the perpetrator, the person responsible for causing this turmoil, maybe, hopefully, this will inspire you to do better and treat people with the respect they deserve, so we can all have a happier, healthier dating experience. This podcast episode is the result of hours of research and learning from a variety of leading dating and relationship experts, all of which I will credit both at the end of this podcast and in the show notes too, in case you want to deep dive into all of their material. Buckle up, lean in, and take notes. Let's dive in. Okay, love bombing. The love bomber may seem like the perfect match, but in reality, they are creating a false environment to look like they are the right person for you, says Tinder's resident relationship expert, Devin Simone. Love bombing is a tactic that is trying to force your trust and dependence, so the love bomber quickly becomes the most important person in your life. Later in the relationship, it's easier for them to devalue or discard you, or even make you feel like you're the one who has been doing something wrong. This is more from respectvictoria.vic.gov.au. Men and women, but unfortunately I would say more so men in this kind of scenario, can be future fakers. Saying the things about a possible future early on and getting you all excited to get the outcome they want. Think of dating like going for a job interview. You put on a show to be the best version of yourself to get the job, whether you really want it or not so much. It's cruel, immature, and thoughtless behaviour, so moving forward, the advice from self-help and life coach Margarita Nazarenko is, don't believe what every Tom, Dick and Harry says about you, even when you really want to. The love bomber is someone who has minimum intentions disguised as maximum intentions. You can be more susceptible to love bombing if there's a void inside of you needing to be filled. We mustn't project our inner needs onto someone else. We can't make the wrong person right for us. And who would want to be in a long-term relationship with someone who doesn't give anything back? You, my friend, deserve respect and trust from people. Tell yourself, this person's lack of affection is boring to me. Be bored and be turned off by their lack of effort. What is sexy about someone who does nothing, plans nothing? Be your own North Star. Don't let what anyone says lead you astray. Even if you want to be with them, choose yourself, even when, and especially when, it's not easy. Be firm on your values and your boundaries. Our ego can be blind to the bigger picture, and that's when we leave a window open for the love bomber to take advantage. Don't assign different meanings to words. Words don't equate to actions. Don't spend all of your time second guessing. Is this progressing? If no, you have your answer. If this person says things that aren't backed up by making future plans, you have your answer. I'm sorry, they were trying to make a sale. But think about it. How unattractive and unappealing is that behaviour? Be in the present, in where you are right now. Don't get overexcited and carried away about where it might go. Who's prioritising you? Not the love bomber. You prioritise you, and prioritise those in your life that do the same to you and for you. Don't try to validate yourself by winning over that person. Being convenient for someone who you want to like you gets you nowhere. The best version of you is the one that looks after herself or himself. Tell yourself, okay, this is a great opportunity because now I get to see sooner rather than later, this person isn't for me. Please don't ignore the red flags and do not put your life on hold for anyone. Whew, okay. Breadcrumbs and time wasters. According to Kelly Campbell, PhD, breadcrumbing is leading someone on romantically using online or electronic forums, think social media or texting, to keep someone's interest in you, even if they never intended to become romantically too involved. It's essentially the act of sending out flirtatious but non-committal social signals, i.e. breadcrumbs, in order to lure a romantic partner in without expending too much effort. In other words, it's an emotionally manipulative tactic. Breadcrumbers make plans with you but cancel or don't show up, and they seem too busy for you, explains Campbell. They might even go absent for periods of time. They seem warm towards you, but then turn cold. You can't understand or explain their actions, and you never really know where you stand with them. Often, these individuals have a personality characterised by narcissism, as well as game playing and a shallow approach to relationships. Campbell continues, they don't feel guilty about manipulating others and playing with people's emotions. Lastly, and arguably the most shocking, some breadcrumbers are already in a relationship with someone, yet are seeking attention from others. Campbell goes on to explain, first and foremost, you set the example for how others should treat you. So don't tolerate poor treatment. You deserve someone who is willing to give you the same amount of attention you are willing to invest. Engage in self-care. Use positive self-talk and think about what it would mean for you to date somebody who is available. Who wants a secretive person, not fully transparent with their feelings and intentions? No one. Do you really want the person who leaves you hanging? Let's go back to that boredom technique. Get bored by their lack of response in texting or planning. It's no longer interesting to me if that person is not interested. If this person isn't interested, this isn't attractive to me. They're not attractive to me. Learn to be bored with people who don't want to be with you. Learn to be bored with people who don't reply to you, or spend days getting back to you, or ghosting you. More on that later. Be repelled. You feel crappy now because it's pulled down and set off your anxious attachment response lever if you identify as an anxiously attached person, triggering you to become desperate for a response reward. No. Be bored. Don't punish yourself because of someone else letting you down. Inauthentic behaviour equals you dodged a bullet, my friend. Focus on prospective partners who are making an effort. Someone who's not giving us what we need or paying attention to us is not right for us. Charm and charisma isn't enough if it isn't coupled with them showing they want to actively explore dating you and building something real. Don't latch on to an illusion that they are right for you. The love bombing and then occasional dopamine hits through breadcrumbs have created a potential fantasy relationship. Don't hold on to the addictive thoughts of a fantasy. You are overvaluing and making up what they are bringing to the table. If someone charms the pants off you but shows you who they are, say, this person is not for me. Don't overvalue someone's initial charm or connection when they aren't showing up. They're terrible for your life. Lose respect for them. If they can't be all in and that's what you want, thank you next. Otherwise, where does this go? But more of the same. Breadcrumbs, I'm sorry, they don't prove anything. It just ignites and further constructs the story or fantasy in your mind. There is no excuse he or she can give you for their behaviour. You just need to know they're not for you. If they're not sure, then you're not sure. You're bored. Let them be them. And you do you, boo. You need to make yourself happy. If a person makes you feel consistently lonely, on edge, sad, unseen, worried, unsafe, your feelings are correct. Your feelings are telling you that this person is not good for your life. Back away from things that don't honour that. Ask yourself, how does this current situation really feel? Will I ever get the quality time I want from this person? If they are not putting much into this, it's a low-key connection. See this as information. Match their energy and reinvest your energy wasted on them by honouring what you want. Be the author of your own outcome. Is the level of contact from this person what you want? If no, you don't need to be a victim of their breadcrumbs. See clearly what is going on in front of you. Be clear what this person is and isn't available for. It's rare that a breadcrumber will change. It's more likely the tone's been set, and this will continue unless you stop participating in it. Don't convince yourself of what the breadcrumbs could be or should be. Look at the cold reality. There's probably not going to be a magical transformation, unfortunately. The danger of anxiously fawning is the person who has toxic intentions is willing to monopolise your time before they discard you. Don't give them a free lunch. When we fawn too much and give too much, and it isn't earned or reciprocal, we fail to advocate for our needs. They need to invest in you. And I know it's hard, but don't take it personally. It's impersonal to you. Value yourself enough that you are not going to create a story from the story. That somehow you're responsible for how they're behaving. They are responsible for how they are showing up. You are responsible for how you're showing up. Don't try to fill in the dots. If they are not actively dating you, you made it up in your mind. If they are not chasing or connecting with you or creating time for you, it's not going to take them time. It's probably a non-starter. The person, your person, should bring you ease. And to remind you again, get thoroughly bored and turned off by their lack of momentum. So much of the time, our subconscious mind can create the spark of attraction that gets us hooked up with a person who is energetically not coming towards us or is pulling away. And that can really stir up feelings in us that feel like love, but it's not real, my friend. If the communication is patchy, say to yourself, I don't know if they can fill any of my criteria. The fact I'm not going to get a lot of investment, the fact I don't feel seen or heard, is evidence of it being the wrong thing. If you are seeking a romantic relationship, rule out the inconsistent, ambiguous time wasters, those not ready for a relationship, who don't know what they want, by knowing you deserve someone who really likes you, wants to be with you, and shows up for you. And we're on to ghosting. Relationship experts and psychologists agree that people who ghost are avoiding an uncomfortable situation. This evasion, while perceived as a lack of regard, is often because they feel it's the best way to handle their own distress or inability to clearly communicate. In short, it's an easy way out. Ghosting demonstrates a lack of respect for the other person's feelings and a lack of empathy for how the ghosting may impact them. They assume that the other person will get the hint and can use this to justify their actions. That was taken from mentalhealth.ie. Being on the receiving end of ghosting can significantly impact someone emotionally and mentally. Our brains like to ruminate when we don't get proper closure, so we have to give ourselves the closure we seek. This is harsh to hear, but I'm going to say it. If they ghosted you, they likely do not care very much. So don't waste your emotions. Stop all actions towards them and detach. Don't try to find answers, scan their social media, check if they're still active on dating apps. If they've treated you this poorly, you need to be out of there. You don't owe them anything. This is more from mentalhealth.ie. Don't blame yourself. It can be easy to engage in negative self-talk and start blaming yourself, thinking that you did something wrong. Personalization occurs when someone blames themselves for something that isn't their fault. Remember that when somebody ghosted you, it says more about them and their shortcomings than it does about you. There are lots of reasons why somebody may have stopped contact, so there is no value in jumping to conclusions and assuming that it was because of something that you did or did not do. Ghosting can happen to anyone. Smart people, interesting people, beautiful people. Because when you've been ghosted, it's never about you. It's about them. According to the experts, people often ghost others when they're pretending to be someone they're not and they are afraid of being found out. It's painful because we think, oh, they didn't want me anymore, they don't like me anymore, they're bored with me. So we tend to blame ourselves. What did I do wrong? What did I do to make them disappear? What is lacking in me? How could someone do that to me? Why am I not enough? And we start overthinking and overthinking. Our brain desperately trying to find the answer, which of course it can't. If someone can cut you out of their life without any explanation, that is telling you who they are. That's on them, not on you. Count yourself lucky that they showed you the kind of person that they are. It's weak and it's cowardly. They're behaving in a horrible way by disappearing. They've likely led you down the garden path with future promises and can't back it up. So sneak away. Draw a line under that behaviour now. Give them space. Let them go. Pity them even. They do not have the tools to conduct an adult conversation with you. Don't put your energy into what happened. Don't put your energy into them. Put your energy into you. You deserve better, and you will find better. Okay, friends, we're going to stop here for today as I think that's quite a lot to digest already. Full disclosure, I didn't actually realise until recording this how much research I've accumulated. So what I'm going to do is split modern dating, lessons on love bombing, breadcrumbs, ghosting and moving on into two parts. So for next week's podcast episode, I'll pick up where we left off today and we'll explore dating, the emotionally unavailable avoidant attachment types, and then look at how we might stop obsessing over the person we've been dating who has let us down. Then I'm going to share some tips on how, if your self-worth and self-confidence has taken a knock, you can start to heal and bounce back. And then I've got some really juicy stuff to conclude. Resources from today's podcast episode come from the Personal Development School's Thais Gibson, Rapid Transformational Therapist Marissa Peer, Women's Dating and Confidence Coach Amber Grumbenman, Leading Dating Expert and Confidence Coach of Love Life fame Matthew Hussey, Self-Help and Life Coach and my personal fave Margarita Nazarenko, Dating Coach Evan Mark Katz, Relationship Coach and Attachment Style Expert Stephanie Rigg, and Psychological Wellbeing Practitioner Marios Georgiou. Just one more minute of your time before I say farewell, and that's for the important housekeeping. If you are suffering with your mental health, there is a crisis button on the My Possible Self app, which will signpost you to the correct information for immediate expert advice. Those of you who are listening to the Happier Life Project, not on the My Possible Self app, but on one of the podcast platforms, if you did want to download our app, it is completely free to use. You can access all of the content, so you don't need to worry about it costing you anything. If you are in crisis or you think you may have an emergency, please call your doctor or the emergency services immediately. The views and recommendations that have been expressed in this podcast are of the mentioned who I've just credited, and the content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered as a substitute for professional or medical advice. Our partners at the Priory Healthcare are not involved in the production or content of this podcast. If you're listening on one of the podcast platforms and you haven't already left a review or subscribed, I'd super appreciate that. And if you did find this episode helpful, please do share it with any friends or loved ones that you think might benefit if they're struggling a little bit with their love lives. And to find and follow us on social media, we are at My Possible Self, and I've been at Radio Gabby. Do take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.